Okay, now it's time to hear from each of our groups. It's going to be difficult to stop talking, but the good news is we don't have to stop talking. We have an opportunity to keep the conversation going. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from each group of a couple of your most salient points that you want to share. Not your whole discussion, but like if you each, and following our discussion, we have two students that are going to talk with us. So I can see a couple people are moving. Oh, they're moving over to their other tables. Okay. We have an undergraduate student and a graduate student talking with us following our reporting out. So we'd like to hear a couple of points from each of the lively discussions. I could hear a lot of rich solutions coming out of the group. And the good news is the library set up a thread. It's called a thread on Reddit. And it's we don't have to monitor the conversation. There doesn't have to be a convener of the conversation. So there's this little piece of paper that was by the sign-in. So the way Jean set it up for us, it's called, you go on to this connection at UC Lib, which is for the library, .link/civility. And so we have a community room to keep the conversation going on Reddit. And so that should be a very, satisfying way for us to feel that we aren't ending it today. But we do want to hear from you. So let's start back here with Marianne's table. Oh, you want to come up to the mic because we're going to record the results. And then what I'd like to have the minutes from your recorder so that we have the full results of your conversation. But if each group would just share just 2 points, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, I think anyone, he'll make it hot. Okay, this is Pete Bowes.
We heard from our single student member, Dan, that he had a lot of concern on campus for the amount of resources that were wasted dealing with police presence and the conflicts on campus. That was the first thing I heard that kind of stuck with me. Beyond that, in a far more penetrating way, we heard about the importance of social media, in particular Facebook, because it is a methodology to advertise what happens on campus, and yet it advertises to your friends who have similar views and becomes the effective echo chamber that we mentioned as a key question. I don't know how we break that. The last thing I said was, well, does the Goldman School have a Facebook page? I got some funny feedback about that. I think those are key things, that social media being, keeping people, the immediacy of social media, but the lack of pervasiveness. Your contacts are your contacts. It's hard to reach outside that through social media. So that's a point. You can see we took very careful notes here.
Maybe somebody recorded more. Did anyone record more from your table, from what was said? Well, then you can just give me your notes. Thank you.
I heard one additional idea that I wrote down that was mentioned because it was part of Larry's class, that was allowing announcements in class from students about what was going on, events outside the classroom. That Larry apparently allows that to happen.
Excellent.
It was appreciated.
Great. Thank
All
you.
Right. Thank you.
Table number 1. Table number 2. Please come up and share a few points from your lively discussion. Sure. Thank you.
So we talked about whether we were an echo chamber, and if we were, why. I wouldn't say most, there was a difference of opinion. Some folks felt that they didn't want to socialize or be in contact with people who disagreed with them because they didn't want to be in a position of being attacked. That would make them uncomfortable, and why would they pursue a relationship with people who were going to attack them? Another viewpoint was, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. The only way you're going to understand where the attacks are going to come from is if you understand what the position is of the people who disagree with you, and that means you have to listen to them. And that means you may be uncomfortable, and you more than likely will be sometimes. There was a good point made that most people's disagreements are coming from their underlying feelings, and if you're only talking logic, you're missing the motivation for the position that they're holding, and you really need to look at what their underlying feelings are. And when you can address those underlying feelings, whether it's fear or anger or selfishness or self-interest or whatever it is, then you have a better chance of finding a solution you can both live with. But if you only deal with it with logic, you're not going to find a basis of resolving the problem because you really won't understand what the problem is. There was some suggestions about how we can go forward. I talked about the concern about media, and our student called me on it and said, youth don't pay attention to TV and newspapers. We go research. I said, well, Facebook and social media isn't going to be any less biased. And she said, no, we go research stuff. If we want to know about something, we go research looking for answers. I still think that the same problem exists on the internet that exists in media, which is that so much of the information that's put out is put out from very, very biased viewpoints, and there's not very much effort to be fact-based. But I was encouraged by that no, we just don't take what's fed to us. We go looking for better answers. But one of our members said, you know, there's a wonderful book put out by a professor of sociology here at Cal called Strangers in Their Own Land. And she went down to Louisiana to talk to people who feel very disenfranchised, who were very strong. I think this was before Trump, but very strong right-wing supporters, very strong radical Republican supporters. And it was fascinating listening to that because the conclusion of several of the people at the table who'd read the book was she didn't have an answer for why things were going wrong for these folks, but she noted a disconnect between their ability to put together cause and effect. So they would say, our lives are being destroyed, we don't have jobs, our children are being poisoned, but they didn't blame the companies or the corporations that were polluting their waterways or their food. They blamed the black helicopters, the government, whomever. And when she said, well, and then when asked why they didn't blame the corporation, they said, well, the corporation has a right to do that. And her comment was, but don't you have a right to fish and eat healthy fish? And they'd never made that connection between that there's actually a conflict of rights going on here, and don't your rights have some precedent? So there's this desire to blame without really understanding the cause and effect of where your problems come from. I think that's probably pretty much the only other comment was the way information is transmitted these days, which is every crisis is front and center. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday, it's what's happening today that we have to focus on. And as a consequence, we spend all of our energy trying to pull the babies out of the river, and we never look at why the babies are being thrown in the river, and we need to stop focusing on whatever the immediate crisis is today and look at what's causing the crises, the string of crises.
Thank you very much. And you'll love to know that we had Arlie Hodges. Yes. Anyway, if you go on to the Goldman website, Centers, which is to get to the Center on Civility and Democratic Engagement, you will get a link to our public programs. And there's a whole UCDC televised broadcast of that interview with her for our homecoming. She was our homecoming speaker last October with, I forget the other speaker's name, but it's an excellent combination of information about her book and her analysis. Table number 3, would you come up and share some salient points from your discussion, please?
So I don't want to repeat too much of what's already been said because we discussed several of those points. But one of the things that we did say was that in public settings, we feel like there's pressure to kind of stick to one side. So even if someone is having a debate, having a discussion, and they start to be swayed to another side, or like, people generally don't have like black or white views. There is this pressure in public to stick to those black and white views. And so we see that as a problem with civil discussions. And that one of the resources or ideas that was also mentioned is that, especially in my generation, we don't stick to getting our news from television. And so we're really researching and we're looking online, and we are accessing different resources from other countries in other languages, and that's important and an idea that we have. And then also we're looking for like quality news. So I think that we have a better judge of what's something that's sensationalized in the media and what's really like a legitimate expose that goes over, it has an in-depth analysis of an issue. And that in general, and most of us at the table, we're somehow involved in academia, and we know that we are kind of taught to look at other perspectives. And so we don't generally feel like we're in an ideological echo chamber because we seek out those other perspectives. And yeah,
great.
Anything else?
Thank you very much. How about table number 4 in the back? Do you have some points you want to share?
Well, we kind of thought that one of the things that to consider is how different the fact base is that we may be working with and the people on the other side are working with. And one way to get educated by that is to say, as a matter of discipline, you need to listen to Fox News once a week and listen to their program and understand that the other people believe it. And I go down to Texas on business, and they think that I'm a fairly capable businessman. They just don't think that I have any understanding of how the world works at all. And they're all very nice people. And they're intelligent people, and they're hardworking people. But they are working on a completely different set of facts than all that. So it's interesting and educational to try to really understand why they think the way they do when that is the fact base that they're working off of.
Thank you. That's a challenge. Wow. So we will keep the conversation going on Reddit, and we'll please pick up one of these little pieces of paper as you leave so that you can keep recording your thoughts, and we can have a real give and take and keep that going. And we will take the results. If anyone has notes that they can hand up to me, I will compile them. And now we get a really wonderful opportunity to hear from our UCDC student and our graduate student. So Selma is going to introduce our Viviana.
Hi, I'm going to talk just 2 minutes on the UCDC connection to the center. The center back in 2010 began providing to 3 students per semester a small amount of funding, $1,000 each, so that they could more easily do their work at UCDC. Work at UCDC involves taking classes, but also doing an internship, either in the government or non-governmental sector. And we've had some amazing students go through our process of selection to get the little bit of funding to go to UCDC. And all of those students are featured on our center's website. So if you go to the website again, and you look for the UCDC students, you will find bios, photos, and also essays from them. After they complete their time at UCDC, they send us an essay about their experience and about what they saw or didn't see about civility and democratic engagement in the work that they did and the people they worked with. Lynn Serta Price has put together this very nice flyer. They're available on the table over there about our 3 students from the class of, from the spring in 2018. And they're there now, and we'll be hearing from them more when they come back. We are very, very pleased to have a UCDC student who was among our first to receive funding come to this meeting, this gathering. I don't know if she's here right now, but that's Chanel Adikuono. And we've kept in touch with her, and she often comes back to center events. And now I'm going to introduce Viviana Morales, who's part of the 3 students who received funding last semester. That's fall of 2017, right? Yeah. And she'll tell you about her UCDC experience. So if anybody has questions about our connection with UCDC, more than this flyer explains on the back and these bios, let me know. Viviana.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Viviana. I am a student here at Cal. I'm a 4th year poli-sci major, Chicano Studies minor, and I intend to graduate, hopefully, if everything goes right, this May. So I participated in the UCDC program last semester, as was mentioned, and as the daughter of immigrant parents, growing up in a small town in Carpinteria, near Santa Barbara, kind of where the burnt area happened in December, I never would have imagined that I would have gotten the opportunity to go to DC. And so I knew that coming to Berkeley, that was one of the opportunities I was really looking forward to participating in. I'm very honored to have received the scholarship on behalf of the center that helped me kind of fund me to be there and fully immerse myself in the experience that was UCDC. During my stay in DC, I actually got to intern in the office of Senator Kamala Harris, which was my top choice. It was something that I was very much looking forward to. But since it is very competitive, I am grateful that I got the opportunity to be in her office and learn from her staff and kind of really immerse myself in the political system, public policy aspect of politics and everything that surrounds that. So during my time there, of course, I got to do the fun stuff like being the front desk and answering phones and sorting the mail that a lot of constituents from California sent, which was really fun. But I also got to work on a lot of projects that included research on a variety of issues that I never would have imagined, like palliative care and self-driving cars. So it was a really interesting experience to write those memos and talk to staff about that. One of the great opportunities that I also got to participate in was attend committee hearings. And I would just basically talk to my supervisors and say, hey, is it okay if I step out for 30 minutes or so and go listen in on this conversation that's happening? It was really cool that I actually got to sit in on the help committee in the Senate, which was hosting a conversation on free speech at the time. And clearly, keeping in mind everything that had happened here a year ago, I was very intrigued as to how this conversation would be carried out at the federal level, considering that it's on the opposite side of the spectrum, and just everything that was going on in California, Berkeley, and I wanted to see what people had to say about it. And so it was really interesting that both the chairman and the ranking member, Senator Alexander and Senator Murray, were willing to have this conversation at the federal level. And so when I stayed for a little bit, and one of the questions that one of the senators asked was, how can university presidents or administration of the university ensure that free speech is kind of allowed on campuses? And one of the responses that the panel gave, which included the president of the Southern Poverty Law Center, the president of the University of Chicago, who else was there? Like a lawyer from one of the New York law schools, and a professor from another college. And one of the responses that was given was, the university presidents should exercise their freedom of speech right in order to ensure that students that might feel attacked by whatever speakers are coming on campus, that they are ensuring that those students and that the university is protecting the students that might feel attacked by the speaker. And some of the ways that they can do that is by doing alternative events, hosting alternative events. If a fiery speaker is going to come on campus, hosting alternative events and ensuring that students are protesting peacefully. So I thought that was one of the things that our campus was doing here during the whole Milo incident, which I think was a really good way of kind of segueing into distracting away from people that might want to not hijack free speech, but in a way change the conversation around free speech. So I thought it was a really good practical way of approaching it. And they also, I don't know, I just found the conversation very intriguing into how we could apply it to Berkeley while I was a student here and kind of seeing and thinking about everything that had happened while the Milo incident did occur. And in the conversation of the committee hearing, Berkeley, of course, would come up a lot, which I thought was really cool in many contexts in the way of thinking about free speech. And then another way that I saw civic engagement happening at the Capitol was through several demonstrations on the DREAM Act and kind of undocumented students and allies coming into the Capitol and advocating for this cause that is such a huge problem or concern for California. And so one time, I think it was a Friday. Usually Fridays tend to be a little bit more casual, and since it is a Friday at the business in the office, but work still has to get done. So on that day, it was really cool that a lot of I think it was, I can't remember what organization put it on, but they were all wearing orange shirts. And they all came into the Capitol, especially into the Hart Building, which is where we were. And out of the 7 floors, you can see several demonstrators kind of just surrounding every single floor, every single level, and people from different offices coming out and in support or just observing what was happening. So I thought it was a really great way to kind of, for our community, the undocumented community and allies in this movement to kind of come and be we're not going to stay silent on this issue. This is something that matters to us. And I just thought it was really powerful considering that, I don't know, I feel sometimes you get caught up in the world of politics and there's so many things to get done, but they did a really good job of emphasizing that this is a huge concern, not just in California, but around the nation. And so it was a really strong moment for me where I realized I want to be a part of that. So, now, coming back to Berkeley, I feel I really want to take part in grassroots organizations as well, while I also got the perspective of being inside politics and government and learning how the institution works. But now I kind of want to be a part of the movement of how do we get people to fully engage on the issues that matter most to them. And honestly, I'm really grateful for my UCDC experience. It has opened my eyes to so many different issues, perspectives, and different ways that we can make our voice heard in this political system, especially during these tumultuous times. But it's something that I will forever cherish, an opportunity that I've been looking forward to throughout my career here at Cal. And as it's coming to an end, I'm really grateful to have taken part in this opportunity, and I'm grateful to the Center for their support. So thank you so much.
I just want to mention that I did say that we have one of our first students here. She just returned from feeding her parking meter. So Chanel, can you stand, Chanel? Chanel has been fantastic in keeping in touch with us. And I guess you would like to say a few words, which is lovely. And thank you to Viviana. That was very, very helpful for us to hear how much her UCDC experience has meant.
Stay and then we'll have a couple of questions.
Okay.
After we hear from Roland.
Hi, everyone. Oh, is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to be here. I can hear. Okay. What did you want me to speak about?
We really don't have just that.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay, so my name is Chanel Adikono, and I'm a alum of class of 2011, and I received the Civility and Democratic Engagement Fellow in 2011 when I went to UCDC and interned at the Smithsonian. And it was a great experience. And really, as someone who's an immigrant from Indonesia, I really struggled really empowering myself in what I stand for, my identity, and what I really wanted to do in this world. So I think that the fellowship was very crucial, and the opportunity for me to study a semester in DC, because I did not have necessarily the privilege to study abroad outside of the country because of fears of I didn't have my citizenship yet, and I actually was naturalized in my sophomore year here at Cal. So I did my whole I did my naturalization at the Staples Center, which is one of the largest naturalization ceremony. And I think I really feel like I owe it to my community. I grew up in the San Bernardino County, which unfortunately is now known due to the terrorist attack that took place. That's really literally around the corner from where my parents live currently. And really just being surrounded by minority communities and my experiences in low-income settings. And so I studied social welfare with a minor in public policy, and hence why I continue to be involved. Eventually, my undergrad degree led me to a series of events, and I went back to Washington, D.C. to get my graduate degree at American University School of International Service to receive my master's in international development, focusing in gender equality and education. I am very passionate about education because I think ultimately that's what allowed me to move from low-income immigrant, individual, woman, a minority, to really now the table really reversing, and now that I feel like I'm in a position where I'm privileged now. And to change that cap, right, from where you were to where I am now, it's a fascinating experience, something that I'm still exploring. So now I work at the Public Health Institute, which is actually founded by apparently Berkeley alums as well, and I run a global health fellowship program that is a cooperative agreement funded by the Center for Disease Control. So I'm very, very passionate about international relations, specifically girls' education, and really empowering women's voices. So this is a great time to be alive to fight against all the bigotry. And yeah, I'm really internally grateful for the Civility and Democratic Engagement. I have some ideas on how to continue to grow the organization. I think one of the big ideas I have for this is, I think someone mentioned, like, where would our funding go? I think one idea I think is important is, we have things like Skydeck, this incubator, and providing people the funds to create more like tech ideas, but I think it would be cool if we have an incubator more for like young professionals like us, young activists or policymakers, to create our own incubator for nonprofits we might want to run. I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Would you move in? Would you move in? The photo of these folks, because we've heard from Henry and folks, but these folks sitting behind this, with this picture behind them. There's a statement there. This is 50 years later, and their voices are the movement of what we started 50 years ago in so many ways. Dee Dee, get in there. I had all the other. Dee Dee, get in there. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll get Dan. You're going to introduce Rowan. I don't know how to say her name. Oh, she could stay and if we have some questions. So if you want to stay nearby. Great.
You were talking about, you said in this panel or this hearing, on healthcare, what did it have to do with free speech?
So, yeah, the committee is, it's called the HELP Committee, HELP. And so it's an acronym, yeah, and so it's an acronym for health, education, labor, I forgot what the P is, but I want to say pensions maybe, but I could be wrong, but it's an acronym, that's what it stands for, yeah.
Great. All right.
So just before I introduce Rowan, one of the things people were mentioning, the alternative uses of the $4 million, one of the reasons why it costs so much is because the university sponsored the event, sponsored Milo coming. And because of that, mutual aid does not kick in. And so you have to pay, the university had to pay for all of the surrounding police who came. If it's just an event that takes place, you call in mutual aid and you don't have to pay anything other than your own officers' time and overtime. So just FYI, it's just one of these fun facts that that you mentioned that that Kamala Harris said, or in this event that, we should sponsor more of these events. One of the problems of sponsoring an event that's controversial is if you then do have people coming to picket it, then you are on your own to pay for all of the police and security. Whereas if it's just demonstrations that you don't not responsible for, it doesn't cost you. So just one of those little fun facts. So one of the things the center does is sponsor APA fellowships. APA are the advanced, are the master's theses that students at the Goldman School do, and that we try to sponsor them in the area of, obviously, civility and democratic engagement. This year we gave 2 fellowships, one on the issue of making open data relevant to broader communities. So open data, for the most part, is useful for the likes of us, not so useful for the likes of most people out there. And so this Advanced Policy Analysis, APA, is looking at how do you make open data more relevant to more communities. The other one that we are giving is we gave to Rowan El-Halabi, and it has to do with homelessness in Oakland, obviously a major problem. And the issue that one of the reasons why we gave this particular fellowship was that the APA was involving various community groups in the process of trying to deal with the issue of homelessness, both including good guy groups, homeless groups themselves, as well as government. So with that, I'd like to introduce Rowan El-Halabi.
Thank you all for having me today. I really appreciate the support of the Center on Civility and Democratic Engagement, and also just the support of the class of '68. So like Professor Lindheim said, this semester I'm working with the Beloved Community Action Network and the East Oakland Collective on a project to develop a temporary shelter plan for the unsheltered population in East Oakland specifically. And as we know, just driving through Oakland, there's an unprecedented number of unsheltered people living on our streets in unsafe and unsanitary conditions, and really susceptible to further displacement, violence, and disease like we've seen across California. And so right now, there's really an immediate need to temporarily shelter them as an interim solution while more long-term affordable housing solutions are developed. And what we've found is that the failure to address the needs of this population thus far has really been a lack of coordination or a lack of shared mission between all of the stakeholders involved, including the homeless population. So the priorities of each party differ, and there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for them to get together and really share those priorities and understand that they all want the same result, which is an end to homelessness, but they're all going at it from a different perspective. And so in my opinion, those closest to the problem have the solution. And those closest to the problem were the ones living on the street and the service providers on the ground offering services to this population. So what I'm doing with my project is I'm engaging with several organizations, community-based organizations, advocates, faith leaders, service providers, and city officials, so people on the ground, to understand the needs of the homeless population. And I've already heard from city officials who've recognized that the reasons that past interventions have been unsuccessful, like there have been a couple of different pilot projects to try and temporarily shelter individuals throughout the city. And the reason they've been unsuccessful is because they didn't start the project by immediately engaging the homeless individuals. And so they didn't come at it from a way that was sustainable. So the way that I'm doing this is I'm part of this working group where it was convened for the purposes of developing a plan, but it will last beyond my project in further coordination between stakeholders, facilitate plan implementation, and also further advocacy efforts. I'll also be convening a focus group of individuals that are currently experiencing homelessness or were formerly homeless. Some of them currently reside in a city-sanctioned encampment that's in East Oakland at East 12th and Brush Street, as well as those who are living in encampments in East Oakland. So the organization that I work with, the East Oakland Collective, will choose individuals from several encampments that are representative of the larger population so that I can really get an understanding of what are their needs. What do you want to see in a shelter? What are the priorities for you? Do you need access to a kitchen? Is it really important that you have a private quarters? Is it really important like supportive services, the kinds of supportive services that you have, are they a high needs population? So we'll be figuring that out and using that information to help develop alternative solutions. So I'm looking at other cities and other industries that have housed large amounts of people to develop this plan. And really the goal is to develop a plan that's easily implemented and that we can kind of just present to city and county officials with really concrete details so that they can put it to use right away. But really, the whole intention of this project is to center the voices of the homeless population who are often not centered in the policymaking process and really relegated to the sidelines, and to make sure that we maintain their dignity and their right to self-determination in how they want to come out of homelessness. And one of the other things that I'll also be doing that I think is really important as part of a temporary shelter plan is to hear the voices of the sheltered neighbors that are in these communities. Because really the only way to develop a solution to homelessness is to make it a community effort and that it's not isolated and that everyone is affected by this crisis. So yeah, that's the work that I'm doing, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. So we have a few minutes for both of our students are available for a few questions. Larry.
When you interview these various stakeholders, including the representatives of the homeless communities, do you think there's a possibility to get them on film, to video them? Because in terms of larger community impact and creating a dialogue, a well-edited little short film can have much more impact than any other thing that we can imagine. And we're kind of used to receiving information in that form. Mm-hmm. The question was, is it possible?
Yeah, so I think with this particular population and the time that I'll be talking to them, it's quite a vulnerable population, and I'm really cognizant of even over-surveying or getting too much information or pressuring them into giving too much information. But one of the organizations that I'm working with is called The Village, and they have been really instrumental in showcasing the voices of this homeless population. And so there are some videos and there are some clips out there. A UN special rapporteur also came out to some of these encampments that I'll be visiting and has some footage and pictures from that time. That's something that I think I'll be including in my plan that will go to city and county officials to make sure that they understand really the human impact of this problem, but probably not something that I'm comfortable doing, knowing just the vulnerability of the population at this time. But that's a great idea. Thank you.
Could you speak a little more, please, about the element of helping them exit homelessness? I'd like to hear more of your thoughts and what's being done about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the major criteria that'll be part of the plan is that we really can't just, housing people isn't enough, or even temporarily sheltering people isn't enough, but there has to be some kind of element of supportive services that go hand in hand. And so those could be housing and navigation, job readiness training, resume building, mental health support or substance abuse support, all of the different things that kind of play into maybe the causes of their homelessness, and that we can help support them to get out of it. And all of this, of course, is part of a larger policy and that has to do with the causes of their homelessness, which is about the lack of affordable housing and the rising rents in the Bay Area. And so that's not necessarily part of my plan, but it's really part of the conversation that I'm having with these stakeholders.
Yes. I hear you focus on East Oakland.
Yeah.
How come, I just, from my experience, there's more homelessness in West Oakland than there is in East Oakland. Was it your choice to pick the area?
So it wasn't necessarily my choice to pick the area, but really when I've already mapped out kind of the location of the existing shelters and where the encampments are located. And right now there are no shelters in East Oakland, but there are a lot of encampments, and it's really risen in the past couple of months even to the point where I don't know the percentage, but a big chunk of the homeless population is in East Oakland, and they're severely underserved. So that's why the organization really wants me to focus on that. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, you have one more. Bob has a question.
Is there any connection with the city of Oakland to this? How do they play a role in this?
Yeah, they're definitely part of the stakeholders that I'm working with, and this is kind of an advocacy tool that'll be used by the organization that I'm working for to talk to the city and the county to kind of facilitate a plan.
Thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
have a little
gift for you. Wait a minute, am I doing this one right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're so lucky that they come on their Saturday to spend time with all of us, and it makes, don't you feel good about our future when you know that our future is in such good hands with these brilliant women? So, and should help you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really, truly. Yeah, Jay's going to talk about our 50th.
This is going to be 2 minutes. It's been a long morning. It's been phenomenal. I just want to say this, partially about the questions that have come from this conversation. It's all about bandwidth. It is all about bandwidth. And when this class started, and Dee Dee mentioned me, but 15 years ago, a bunch of us got together after the 35th at Selma's house and decided we had to keep meeting because alum engagement on this campus had to have a broader bandwidth for a variety of reasons, and that we could do for this university things that needed to be done, especially knowing that the state funding was going down. There were more alums, a lot more alums that did not participate in this university than the 12% that participate, and we just felt like we're the class 68, we could do something about that. We created a bandwidth. 4 people, Dee Dee, Bob, Jesse, and myself have done 15 of these, 15 each. And it was because of that that Dee Dee was able to envision that we should be in the Free Speech Cafe. And she worked for 2 months to put together on our date, because we set our date a year ago, and find out that they had the resources to host us and to do the microphones and the whole thing. And all of us have done that, and people have come. And I want to say this. To me, what's really significant is Dee Dee was calling on people by name. How many other alum classes could come together for something and have one of the leaders go around the room and call people by name? Because we've had over 70 get-togethers over the years, and we know each other. And that's important because when we got in discussion groups, we knew each other. And the comfort level and the security with opening our mouths and giving ideas and risking a little bit was there. And I think that's phenomenal. And when it comes to what the center is going to do, adding to their band, we created the bandwidth of the center, and we're going to continue to add to that bandwidth because that's what they've demonstrated they can do, and they need a bigger bandwidth. And that's all about creating more bandwidth in this important area of civility and free speech and everything that this class has been part of. So I mentioned that. So now, on the theme, bandwidth. 2 years ago, people started talking because we get together. What should we do for our 50th? And two things came out of that, in addition to a lot of other things, but two things came out of that that are unprecedented. So we've got 5 classmates around the country. Oregon, Minnesota, Oregon, Montana, DC, New York, and Arizona. I may have said that twice, there's another one out there, who are organizing pre-homecoming get-togethers in their areas. In spring and summer, they're going to bring people together, because one of the things was said was people don't come to homecoming because they don't know if anyone's going to be there. Or people don't get a chance because they're far away. People in our class are going to have an opportunity to experience our 50th year wherever they live. And hopefully someone will say, I'll go if you'll go. And get on the plane together. And someone's even suggested getting an Airbnb place together. So we're building bandwidth. We're building bandwidth. And the other thing that was suggested that is just phenomenal. We got to know the difference between then and now. I want to know what's going on now as opposed to then. And out of that came the idea of partnering with the class that's graduating 50 years after we graduated. And Nathan was here, and Nathan was on our panel 2 years ago and said, I'm going to be a junior. And I went, wait a minute, junior is going to be a senior when we have our reunion. So Nathan started it, and I've been meeting all last semester with a group of about 20 Cal 18 and Cal 19 students to talk about what would it be that would make it great. It's a great idea. What would it be that would make it great? A week ago, we had a conversation across 5 decades in the Public Service Center, and we had roundtables with class of 18, 19, and class of 68 folks, and it was fantastic. On the table, for Charter Week, we're going to go to a Cal baseball game. Anybody who wants to come, we have the class of 18, the class of 19, a baseball game at 1 o'clock on Sunday the 18th, followed by a toast to Cal at the Bears Lair to kick off Charter Day for the 150th year. And then on Charter Day, we will have our banner. The class of 18 will be revealing their banner. And we have official sanction where there will be a photo op of us with our banner and them with their banner. So that'll be actually on Charter Day. 11 o'clock to 1, the procession, for those of all of us who want to be in the procession with the banner, we'll have to get the word out.
We meet at 10:30 at the Alumni House.
10:30 at the Alumni House. So that
to process.
Do you have to
process? Yes. Yes, and you have to go online and get a ticket.
Tickets they moved it to I can keep calling it Harmon Gym, Oz Pavilion, and so they've moved it so there's plenty of seats, but you need to go online.
No, they moved it up to the Great Theater.
Huh?
Changed it again?
They moved it again?
I think it's at the Haas Pavilion.
I think it's Haas.
Oh, Haas. Oh, I'm sorry.
It is Haas.
I was
right.
But you're right, it did get moved.
So
right.
you will get the information through the email about the 4 or 5 things that are happening in the spring. And with the class of 18, join in. It is a phenomenal experience. We're talking to them about how we continue the relationship after their graduation. But also we're talking with them about how to begin the process of gathering quarterly in their first year, not their 35th year as Cal alums, and that's going to be really a further legacy for our class at the university. So please join in what we're doing, especially in the next 6 months or so, because it's really the culmination of creating this bandwidth of 35 years, and so help increase that bandwidth.
Thank you, Jay. And we will have our reunion on